everybody, welcome back to our Women's History Month Spotlight series. I am here today with two very exciting members of Aurora history, of the Aurora lore. Two of the people behind all of the beautiful things that you see here that we've all come to know and love at Aurora. And we'll get into a little bit of that later. But first, I would just love to hear, tell me your name, a little bit about what you do.
All right, I guess I'll kick it off. I'm Nicole. I'm a creative director at an ad agency in town, and graphic designer, art director by trade. And yeah, have just loved every moment that I've been able to work with Aurora.
And my name is Carla Zetina, and I'm a new business supervisor at an agency in town and also a designer.
Beautiful.
And also very excited to be here.
So
Thank you for having us.
excited. I love it. Tell me a little bit just about how you first got connected with Aurora in those very early days. How did it even come to be? Did someone call you? Kind of what was the process?
Yeah, I'll start. We actually got contacted by separate people,
Oh, great.
even though we've been friends for 15 plus years.
So funny.
So I got connected through Alyssa Picuña, and there were like rumblings of this like team, and they wanted kind of help like figuring out the name and kind of how things were gonna be. And so I got an email that way, and then Nicole.
And then I got a text from a mutual friend of ours that we used to work with, who was good friends with Wes,
Okay.
and kind of told me the rumblings again, and I was immediately like, yes. And then I talked to her, and she was like, oh, I heard about this too. So then we were like, okay, yeah, we both got to get in on this.
And I think kind of the unifying thing is we were always kind of part of the soccer community.
Yeah.
So Alyssa, I had met at the original kind of games of Minnesota United, and it's kind of how we became friends because we worked at the same agency in town, and we would all go to like the games, and so it's just kind of community from the get-go.
I
Yeah.
love that. And tell me a little bit more about kind of what you remember from those first conversations about this concept, right, of building the visual identity for a brand new team.
Yeah, I mean, just so excited. I think I may have like yelled when the first email came through, and I was like, yes, we're doing this. But I think the coolest thing for me was that we were kind of brought in from the ground up. So we got to be part of even, the naming process of like building a pool of potential, which it doesn't often happen in our line of work. Usually you're kind of given a set of things to
Like
run
a fully
with.
cooked brief, and so we're
Right.
like, oh, we get to like come up with like names that would be cool. And so this like original kind of email went out for us to meet at the Black Heart St. Paul and just kind of talk about like names, and we all showed up with like lists on our phones and like paper lists, and we started noticing that there were like a lot of like names that were already kind of shining, to say the least, and so that was even exciting because we were like, okay, there were names that originally kind of were fun to think about, but then as we kind of kept like digging deeper into them, we're like, yeah, that might not work out, or how would that be kind of related back to like Minnesota. And so yeah, it was kind of pretty early on that like the criteria of like the names were kind of getting fairly defined of like what graphically we were envisioning, even though it hadn't gotten there.
And, Aurora being a community-owned club, obviously the process reflected that too. And I know community owners submitted names, ideas for the team names and things like that. Can you talk to me a little bit about how that fit into the process, what that was like for you all?
Yeah, how many final names did we actually kind of brainstorm? I think it was like 20.
It was 28 from that meeting, but we also knew that we were going to get some names from the community. So it was
Right.
super exciting when there were like crossovers of things that we had thought about, and then we're like, oh, the community is also thinking in that line.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it did start to show some kind of front runners immediately that started bubbling up, which for us got really exciting to even, start kind of percolating on ideas throughout that voting process. So it gave us a little bit of a jump in a way, to start to see, what ideas were coming in and, how things were being voted on and things like that.
Specifically, like concept-wise, right? Because we knew that there were certain kind of categories, like nature names and like verbs, and so there were like different kind of categories for like the names, and so we knew conceptually like where we kind of wanted to like end up, which was funny because in the end, the 3 names that kind of were selected, 2 of them meant the same thing. So the concept was already kind of very clear from the get-go.
Yeah, and I'm curious to hear a little bit from your perspective what it was like, right? So you had that big group, the voting happened, you had those 3 finalists, and then you were actually designing the visual identity for all 3 of those.
Correct.
What was that like?
Yeah. It was
It was fast and furious.
It was intense. Yeah,
Isn't it always?
but it was really collaborative.
Yes.
There was some dividing and conquering that started to happen kind of naturally, but in the beginning, we had communal mood boards and things, and group chats that we were just throwing out,
Everything.
hundreds of ideas,
And photos of things that we would
between
find, like,
us and
inspiring.
kind of the larger founder group.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of that collaboration early on really led to some really good direction
Yeah.
that we could kind of dig into.
And it's kind of definitely like foundation of our process. It's just like these pretty detailed mood boards is what I would say. Like we had multiple mood boards for all 3 names that we at times would be like, okay, this mood board is starting to kind of look like some of the elements could go here. So there was a lot of like intense communication and like working to make sure that the ideas were definitely different, because even though 2 of the names conceptually mean the same thing, they needed to look very, very different. Otherwise, we weren't really giving a whole lot of options.
I think that's key, right? That concept of wanting to give people actually 3 really distinct choices so that you could kind of see where the community was leaning towards. I love that. Do you remember your first reaction when you saw Aurora come through as one of those finalists?
I think a lot of us were really excited because it was kind of a secret favorite for a while. Yeah, and for lots of different reasons, but I think it's something that feels very Minnesota, and felt like something that we could own, and it just is such a visual kind of concept and thing, that there were a lot of possibilities with it. When we were going through the naming process, some of them kind of bring you into a very narrow idea right away. So the Aurora is kind of inherently nebulous, so we could take it a lot of different directions, which I think was really exciting.
Yeah.
And I think part of those directions is a lot of what you kind of end up seeing in the evolution of the 5 years of the merge. A lot of like kind of those initial concepts of what we were thinking Aurora could kind of flex and move into, we've seen reflected in one way or another in the merge over the last 5 years.
Yeah. And so once you kind of, you're in this headspace, you're designing under that Aurora name, how do you start to think about a logo and a visual identity? You talked about the mood boards. I love hearing about that. Like, how does that continue to evolve into an actual logo that goes on a patch on a jersey?
Sketches.
So many sketches. So many sketches. I think, and again, it was a lot of kind of sharing of ideas back and forth. One thing in my head early on was wanting to create something that wasn't just, a stock crest shape.
Yeah.
Something that felt like it could be ownable in some way. So I think a lot of our early exploration was just kind of like, how do we deconstruct what a crest is, and how do we make it something that you haven't seen kind of duped over and over?
Yeah. I mean, I love how that really reflects so much of the ethos of Aurora, right? We're going to take the things we love about soccer. We're going to take the things we love about sport, but we're not going to do things the way that all these other teams or all these other soccer teams do things just because they're how they've always been done. We're actually going to take a critical eye and say, okay, well, what's fun? What works? What's, impactful. And I just love to hear that was kind of woven into your process from the beginning too. I'm curious to hear a little bit about what elements of the design you felt like were important to capture. Are there sort of pieces of that symbolism that you can kind of walk us through about the final logo?
Yeah, I mean, I think the North Star was kind of like a big one from the get-go. In a lot of like the original sketches, it definitely was an element that we kind of kept coming to, and we're like, is it the North Star, but how do we kind of unite that with like constellation? You see that in the original kind of kit with like the pattern.
Yeah.
So like I said, there were so many iterations and different sketches and logos, even just for when we got the names, that were like, because we'll confess, we were definitely biased towards the name. And so then we would like think about something and be like, oh, that would be great to bring it to the Aurora name. And so there's a lot of like pieces that just kind of kept getting woven into it, and the star definitely seems to be one of them.
Yeah, I was very adamant about the star, and I just wanted to call out that I did tattoo
I
it
love that.
on my body. So
That's commitment. That is commitment to your craft.
so I'm very pro North Star as far as logo elements are concerned.
Yeah.
I love that. Do you remember the moment the design felt like it really clicked, where you talk about all of these sketches? Was there a moment where you're like, oh, we've got it, this is it, this is how it's gonna look?
Yes, but there was always like that little, because at the end of the day, the community voted.
Yeah.
So we could have been very biased one way or another towards like what was being created, but at the end of the day, like it wasn't up to us what was going to be chosen. And so we were very, very happy that the decision was kind of unanimous, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, do you remember what it was like when you saw the result of the vote come in and Aurora was officially revealed and confirmed? Was there a little happy dance, your favorite one? Like, what was that like for you?
It was a Zoom call, wasn't it?
No, I feel like, well, officially it was,
Correct.
but we started seeing chatter right after the live stream ended, and we were all still together, and someone pulled it up, and we were like, oh yeah, I think that one's that one might win. It was just
a
kind of
no-brainer.
flooded
It was a
in a
no-brainer.
lot of the comments, so we were like, okay, like we should maybe start.
Yeah, we're like, we should start
planning that this is the
files
one.
for this.
Yeah.
You gotta see all the pieces. No, I mean, I remember I was not in Minnesota. I was not in the Aurora sphere, but I remember seeing those 3 logos go everywhere on social media. And even my friends and I, who were not community owners at the time, but who were not here, were debating which one we thought was the best. And we were like, these are all amazing. Like, this club has 3 potential logos that are all better than so many clubs' actual final primary logo. I mean, it was just, I think from the beginning, it was just clear the talent that you both had, and this whole process was. It was really cool to see, even from afar. Did you expect the brand to resonate with fans the way that it has? Do you kind of, in your experience, like, do you have that little tingle, or was it a surprise?
I thought I'd get the tingle.
I hoped it would. I was reassured once I saw people on the internet saying it was good.
Yeah, I mean, the real reassurance, I'm not gonna lie, is when I see it in the wild.
Yeah.
Like, I'll show up to work, and then all of a sudden a coworker has one of the hats, and I'll be like, oh, I worked on it. They're like, what? Because they don't they don't expect it. It's kind of become like its own sort of thing over the last 5 years, and so I still get excited. And if I see it like at an airport, or even get even more excited because it's traveling. So
I mean, if I were you, I think I would be so shameless about it. I'd be like, did you know I designed that? That beautiful thing you're wearing? That was me. You're welcome. Because it is. It's amazing. That's
very
awesome.
exciting.
It is one of those things where I'm like, should I stop talking about this now? Should I not bring this up?
Never.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think the coolest thing for me was the first game. There were already kids with signs where they had like hand drawn it, and I was like, oh, my heart.
Yeah.
Like I'm dead.
That's a cool moment. You're like, this is already percolated.
Yeah.
Or go to a different soccer team stadium, and you see people wearing the Minnesota Aurora stuff, and you're like, okay, like you're now part of like the soccer conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was really
That is really cool. Is there a moment when you looked at Aurora and thought, oh, this really took off? Like, was it in those early days, was there sort of a moment even later that you're like, this is even bigger than that initial rush?
Honestly, the first game. I mean, all of those games were sold out. People had, my favorite cheer, like, blue or green or something in between. And I was like, oh my God, like, it's like a thing. So yeah, I would say that for me was like very eye-opening, like how much we needed this team.
Yeah, and I think for me, even before that, we talked about social chatter and all of that, but there were some big names that were starting to talk about it, and it got in some big conversations, and I was like, oh, okay, like, yeah, this is gonna be a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, right, you start seeing it in these spaces, and all of a sudden you get that sort of authenticity. You're like, oh, the people in these spaces who know what they're talking about are talking about us, and that's always still really cool to see.
There's a level of legitimacy that comes with that.
Absolutely.
Which was really cool to see almost immediately.
Yeah. So, okay, fast forward to this year. You came back. You're designing
We're
this
back.
incredible, I can't wait for everyone to see it. Soccer is for everyone, warm-up kit, a collection that goes with it. How did that happen? How did that reunion happen?
I mean, the reunion between us is
You're like, it's not a reunion. We've been
hang
here
out all
this
the
whole
time.
time.
Yeah.
We've been here.
Yeah. But it was very exciting because obviously any opportunity that we get to come back to the club, we've made relationships with Allie and Andrea and Dre and Wes, and so we kind of stay sort of like involved and get excited when we see like new merch, and if Kaz is in town and we want to see like the kids, and so it's all really, really exciting. So when you guys reached out saying that you were thinking about this collection, we're like, we're doing this, right?
Absolutely.
Like, we're doing
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
100%.
It just felt, I think, that concept, it's our 5th anniversary. We're celebrating our history. We're celebrating all of these pieces, and one of those foundational messages from Aurora about soccer is for everyone. I don't think there was anybody else who could have designed it. It just would have been so wrong. So I'm so happy you were here to do it. What was the inspiration behind the new kind of design, those pieces? Talk me through kind of what that process was like.
Yeah, I think the team approached us with some ideas kind of baked in already, but I think when we approached it, we wanted to obviously create something that felt approachable and inclusive because of the message itself, but also joyful. There's an opportunity for some expression there, and we also, being kind of the designers around the initial brand, wanted to bring some of that into the mix and make it feel like it's of the same family, but could stand on its own.
Yeah, I love that connection.
And keeping sort of like the kind of star element that's very prominent in all of the pieces that we did. So that's definitely kind of throwing it back to the OOG
That North Star.
concepts.
Yeah, I mean, it is, right? If something's your North Star, it's that thing that you always follow, that's always there, that's that anchor point kind of guiding you. So the fact that it kind of keeps showing up, I think is so perfect and symbolic, and certainly nothing to do with the fact that you have a tattoo.
Yeah,
I'm not biased at all.
It's biased. I love it. What message did you want the design to send? Is there anything kind of you hoped people would feel? You talked about joy, maybe more kind of along that route.
I think that was the main thing, like joy, that it felt playful. That was kind of part of like the brief, I would say, as well. And just kind of bringing like some of that element of like, I mean, you see it in the stands where we're like waving scarves, or, a goal goes in, and so like the hands kind of get thrown up. And so all of that was kind of part of like the concept.
Yeah, and I think current events, as they have been and are, definitely wanted to create something that really shows people where the team stands, and that we do believe in that inclusion, and we are kind of pushing against the darkness that is out there.
Yeah, no,
So
it's true. When we
that's
say
where the
everyone,
joy comes in.
When we say everyone, we mean everyone. And I think that focus on joy has been something that's been so important for us right now, and holding the balance and holding that space for the pain that exists in our community, the heartbreak that's happening, the sort of, to your point, darkness that's happening, but not letting those people win and taking away the joy in the spaces where people want to be and want to see and want to kind of focus on. So no, I think we all felt that when we saw the design. It was, I think I said this to you, but I saw the email come in with the sort of original kind of the sketches, and I literally ran to Gretchen's office and I was like, it's so good! I'm so excited. So it's amazing. What does it mean to you to have helped shape the visual identity of the women's soccer team?
I'm going to throw it back to something we said the day we presented the brand, that it's been a dream project. And I think, I think we both had that sentiment, right? It's a dream project, and we can't believe we got invited to be part of it. So, forever grateful.
No, I mean, I think everybody who loves Aurora is grateful you were involved, because it is hands down, I think, the best logo in sports, but I might be biased.
We're all a little biased.
We're all
here.
a little biased. We're in sort of our shared bias.
Yeah.
Last question. When you look at Aurora now, 5 years later, what makes you the proudest?
For me, I mean, it's just continually grown. Just watching it year over year just become this kind of massive community, I think is amazing. And again, just being able to see the brand be executed in a lot of different ways, and it's just cool. I don't know.
Yeah. I think for me, what's always kind of resonated is just like, it's very like women forward.
Yeah.
And that was something that was very true in the very beginning of who you invited to be part of the naming process, who you invited to be the designer, your kit designers, your front office, your team. Like, that's amazing. And that's something that we happen more often in other industries. And so it's so cool to see it like come to life here and be a great team on top of it. It's entertaining. It's fun to go to the games and have them be sold out and we're good. And, all the elements are there for success. So I can't wait for the next 5 years.
I know. And it's such a testament to what happens when you put a bunch of really cool, really smart women in a room together. Clearly something amazing happens. So it's just been a joy to see, even from afar at the beginning and then from up close now. I think this is a team that absolutely lives up to that external. There are some places where the brand is great, but what's underneath it is not, or it doesn't quite live up to it, or it doesn't percolate all the way through. And that's just certainly not the case here. It's just sort of,
it's alignment from the ground up. So it's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you both for your time. Thank you for your talent. My wallet doesn't thank you for all of the things that I buy. But we are so lucky to have you in our little Aurora sphere. And I'm so excited for everyone to get to see this new collection.
Sam,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.